Well, the college football season is winding to a close for the regular season. We don't know what bowl season will look like. We will get a college football playoff at some point this year. We won't go into, in this video, the complete mess that is the Pac-12. We will have,
Ran by
hopefully,
children.
we hopefully will have a Pac-12 championship game. But what we are going to talk about on this show today is a possible college football playoff expansion and what that might look like.
Yeah.
And I want to actually skip ahead a little bit here and just talk about this conversation happened this year. You saw expanded playoffs in the MLB. You saw it in the NBA. They worked out really well. Here's the big difference with college and with pro sports is that you don't have the money to put all these teams in a bubble. You don't have the resources to do what the MLB or the NBA did. And though even the fan in me said, why would you not? We want the expanded playoff. Let's do it. With the way the season's played out, probably not the best idea in the year of COVID.
Yeah, this year's tough.
To go about doing an expanded playoff is we don't know sometimes 90 minutes before the game if the game's going to actually happen.
Yeah.
But what we are here to talk about is an expanded college football playoff and what that might look like. And this came out on Friday. There's a lot of different graphics and what it could be. I thought this one was great, though, is a 16-team college football playoff and what that might look like. And so let's look at it really quick. This did come out before Miami got absolutely thumped by North Carolina.
Taking a woodshed, man.
62-26 was the score. And so Miami would not be in this playoff picture anymore. So you might see, North Carolina might be on there. BYU might be on there. It would be a lot of fun is to just talk about, Selection Sunday is so much fun. Who are the last four in?
Oh, yeah.
Who are the last four out? Would you not love just to see the debate going on who's going to be the 15, 16 team? Is it BYU?
That'd be a fiery debate, man.
Should it be BYU? Should it be North Carolina? Who's played who? I mean, I just think that college football has done themselves no favors. I mean, SEC country, down in the South, college football is a big deal. And in the Midwest with Iowa and you go up to Michigan, Ohio State, college football is a big deal.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal on a national scale. March Madness is, and it's because they've done a great job with that event. And I feel like going to something like this would give college football an opportunity on a national level to really even the playing field.
It really would. It's always a little bit different when you're discussing football versus basketball. Of course, basketball is faster pace, so a little bit more chance for those upsets. But nobody expected Virginia to lose to a 16 seed in March Madness.
It's what we all watch for.
Exactly. So for us to sit here and say that the 16th best team in the country couldn't come in and beat Alabama in the first round of a playoff.
They could.
They totally could. And that's exactly what brings that excitement. And let's talk about, again, not this year, but when this is happening in front of a packed full stadium of, stadium full of fans, what happens when your number one seed team goes down to that 16 seed? All of a sudden, everything gets a lot louder and it gets a lot harder and there's a lot more pressure on you. So that's exactly why something like this would work. Coming from graduating from a school myself, from an FCS school, of course, I went to Eastern Washington. I was fortunate enough to be out there the year that they won a national championship. So the playoffs, the FCS playoffs went through Cheney, Washington. And I tell you what, man, being there in person, seeing them on ESPN2, it was so much fun. And those are an FCS school. We're talking about Alabama versus the 16th best team in the country.
But that's one of the narratives that gets painted is you can't do 16 teams. It just won't work. It's football. You have to have a week to prepare.
Yeah.
We already see it at the FCS level.
100%. And it is very successful.
Yeah.
Very successful. And I mean, you want to talk about the media and what it would drive on that end of things. I mean, it's ridiculous to say this can't work. I think it is a no-brainer to go this way. Year after year after year, there is a team that feels snubbed. It's started, way back, Boise State was that first team. They went undefeated. We talked about it where it's that was the team that felt like, man, they should have got a shot. But because they were the small school, they didn't. if there was a 16-team playoff, that Boise State team is probably an 8 or a 9 seed in that playoff, right? They're probably a middle team in that. Every year we have a team that feels snubbed. So let's stretch it out a little bit. You can't tell me that these players don't want more high-profile games, right? We're talking about instead of getting one bowl game, you're going to get, 4 nationally televised games if you make it to the championship. I mean, it's good for the players. It's good for the schools. It's really hard for me to sit here and find a reason not to do it. And I don't buy into the, these top teams can't lose. Sure, have we seen the number 1 and 2 teams in the country be pretty powerhouse the last few years? Yes. But this is one game. We're not talking about needing to beat them in a conference schedule. This is one game. Who's hot? Who comes out ready?
Well, sure. And at the end of it, you may have the top 4 seeds meet. Mm-hmm. But the enjoyment that we would get leading up to it, I mean, most of what the NCAA does not make sense. And just think from fair. Being a coach, being a team, let's say you win the Pac-12 championship, which is going to be at the end of November, beginning of December, and let's just say your team's going to be in the college football playoff. To take a whole month off to not have a game makes zero sense. I mean, the NCAA, even though they don't pay their athletes, is all about the money. And the way that the NCAA makes money through football this part of the year is they have bowl games and they get huge contracts with those sponsors, huge TV deals. Here's the deal. You can still have your bowl games for the teams who don't make it, right? But you have this start in December. It's a 4-week playoff. So you can still have the college football championship fall in January, and you just play 3 weeks. Just do it like the NFL. 3 weeks in December, leading up your first round, your second round, your semis. Take a week off before the championship like the NFL does to get to that college football championship. And it'd be great for everybody. And if you want to think about money and ratings and all that, I'll promise you this. Number 1, Alabama versus a 16 seed in BYU is going to get crazy ratings. The first round would be at the home stadiums. As an upper left fan, imagine if UW or Oregon or Wazoo had a top 8 team, which they have had, and got to host a college football playoff game in those stadiums.
Yeah, you want to see someone go crazy.
Those places would be rocking. I mean, Martin Stadium, think about Martin Stadium versus Oregon the year they had College Game Day down there.
That was insane.
Pullman would be the epicenter of the college football universe if they got to host a college football playoff game. And so just thinking about what that first round might look like would be unbelievable. And then you move on, and here's the deal. In those, after the first round, you'd move on to the quarterfinal round where you'd have the Peach Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, and the Orange Bowl. And then in your semifinals, you get to do what you're already doing. You have the Rose Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, before you move on to the championship. David versus Goliath. You mentioned the Virginia game. And it's not just the 1 versus 16 in the NCAA tournament. We love seeing, let's just say that there is an upset in the first round. Mm-hmm. How far can they go? That 12-5 matchup's a lot of fun in the NCAA tournament. And so I think we'd get a chance to see a lot of that. But everyone knows that March Madness is the best sporting event in sports. Yeah. The way it's put together, watching those games on a weekday afternoon, I think college football would have an opportunity to have the second best playoff or tournament in all of sports if they move to this format.
Yeah, I think it's hard to argue that point. It is just insane. And seeing it in the FCS, man, I'm telling you, this is such an insanely fun format. You mentioned it. The chances of seeing some of these stadiums, like Martin Stadium or UW or any of these guys, holding a playoff game, they are going to go absolutely crazy. And it's just so much fun. The only downside I can see to the NCAA is, they don't want their powerhouse Alabama or Clemson going down, thinking they're going to lose viewership. But I don't think that's the case because we see it in March Madness. People love an underdog story. So, you know what? Maybe Alabama goes down. You lose your Bama fans, sure. But then you're going to get a lot of people who may not watch college football tune in because David just took down Goliath. And they're going to tune in for that next game. So you really can't look at it, through such a narrow scope like that. It's only going to drive viewership. It's going to drive money. It's going to drive exposure for the players. I think we're really talking a matter of time. And I got to agree with you, man. It would be one of the best playoff formats in sports.
Yeah, right now, the selection committee for the college football playoff, I mean, they're saying, oh, we weigh this more than that. We like to see a championship in your conference, but it's not mandatory. And there is no black and white in it.
No.
Is by doing this, and we will probably see an 8-team playoff before we see a 16-team playoff. In either of those formats, you give your Power 5 an automatic berth. If you win your conference championship, and what you do is you force all the conferences, you have to have a conference championship. Winner, like the Pac-12 championship game, to say, hey, if you win this game, you're in the playoff. It means something. So even in an 8-team playoff, you say Power 5 gets an automatic berth, and we have 3 at-large bids. That's a lot of fun, let alone a 16-team. And so while we won't see it this year, we don't know how long it's going to take. I really do think that we will see an expanded playoff within the next 5 years.
I think it's fair.
8 teams would be a move in the right direction. Maybe in the next decade, this
don't just dip a toe. Jump in, NCAA.
Yeah,
jump in. Make it 16.
Maybe over the next decade, college football fans and sports fans get to see this pipe dream come to reality and see the college football playoff turn into one of the greatest tournaments in sports, which it's not right now.